Hey, what's going on? It's Darth Snivy Logic 20 here today with my review for episode, my double review for episodes 2 and 3 of season 2 of Star Wars Rebels. Now, I wasn't able to do a review for the episode 2 last week, so I'm just combining my two reviews for the last two episodes. So, first, let's start with episode 2 Relics of the Old Republic. I thought this was a very well done episode, probably the best of the season so far. And I mean, that's only been three episodes, but the season's very good so far. I really have enjoyed season two at this point, much more so than at a halfway point of season one. That's mainly because we have more characters now. We have Ahsoka. We know so much more about the the state of the galaxy that that Star Wars is in during this timeline, and we've gotten used to these new characters, the Ghost Crew. It took a while. It honestly took me a while to get used to them, but by the end of season one, you really have an attachment to them, especially Ezra and Kanan, and really all of them. In episodes one and two of this new season, if you don't count Siege of Lothal, we returned to the three characters from the previous animated series, The Clone Wars. And that would be Rex, Gregor, and Wolf. It seems like we've gotten a much greater character development from Rex rather than the other two clones. They seem like they're kind of in the background there, and that's especially so much more so for this episode. Even though I felt like that they played an adequate role, it was obvious that they're stressing the most importance on Rex, and looking forward in this season and looking at his interaction with the Ghost Crew, and it looks like he's going to be the main clone that we're seeing for now, definitely so. And I don't even know if we're going to see Gregor and Wolf again. The visual effects of this episode, especially during the sandstorm, that was really great. You know, maybe it was a little much that Callus sent what, three or four AT-AT walkers to deal with this small group of rebels and clones, but it definitely shows that he came prepared. He's Callus has encountered this group of rebels before, and he knows what he's dealing with. He's definitely not underestimating them, and he gets there with three Imperial walkers for a couple of rebels. That is when, correct me if I'm wrong, but they sent four ATs to destroy the Echo base in Empire. So I know that shows you something, right? Uh, I did like I really love seeing the AT-ATs in this episode. It gave me so much nostalgia for the original trilogy. Particularly my favorite movie and my favorite Star Wars movie, one of my favorite movies of all time, probably my favorite sci-fi movie of all time, Empire Strikes Back. I know a lot of people agree that it's the best Star Wars movie, even though my dad's favorite is Episode One. My only complaint is that they, to me, AT-ATs have always looked like camels, and in this, they kind of look like cats. I mean, maybe that's because these aren't quite the AT-ATs that we're used to, that we've seen in, you know, the original trilogy. These are more like these are smaller AT-ATs and probably prototype versions. And I wanted that iconic walking sound of the AT-ATs, and we didn't really get that. I mean, maybe that's because they're on Hoth, they're trudging through the snow, but these AT-ATs, they're not the particularly greatest and technological inventions. You just shoot it in its neck and the things just blows up. It, that imperial technology is, it always has these flaws. So I really would have liked to hear that sound effect, original edit. That would have really pounded it home for me, and that's me in particular, because I had a huge edit toy as a kid that had a soundboard and would say, say lines from General Veers and full speed ahead, stuff like that, and which Callus was saying. That really brought me back to Empire. I really loved that. And it had the sound effects, which is, oh, who didn't like the edit sound effects? One of the reasons why I really love this episode is that it feels so much like a scene from the original trilogy, or sometime within that time frame, even though it's before the Battle of Yavin, with these small group of rebels fighting a pretty big Imperial force. But what I really like is that it takes these new characters that we're pretty well used to now, and Clone Wars characters, and gives it that original trilogy feel to it. I thought that was genius, very well done. Now, partly because of this is a much more action-packed episode than the last one. By that I mean episode 1, Lost Commanders. That was kind of more of a filler, introduction to the clones episode. And of course, the only action they had in there was the Jupa fishing. But there was just so much action, so much well-paced action too, that I really liked. And they addressed the plot holes in this episode. When the Admiral goes back for the Inquisitor, who we know as the fifth brother, and tells him, "Yeah, dude, we might have actually lost the rebels because we had to pick you up. We couldn't provide air support to Callus, and as a result of that, we might have actually lost them." I thought that was actually pretty clever that they did address that. That way they could address plot holes. That's usually not so much done in Star Wars. So I thought that was pretty clever, and very much added to the quality of the episode, at least the plot wise. And of course, who didn't love the reunion of Rex and Ahsoka at the very end? My only comment on that was that it felt kind of awkward at first, but everybody didn't like it. And that it was just a little weird that we didn't see the other two clones at the end. I mean, I guess they must have brought them. I don't think they would have left them to die on Sealos. So I guess they must be on that ship somewhere. No, I just didn't make it an entrance, or we're not going to really get seeing them as much as Rex. We'll probably see them. My guess is that we'll see them in the background, maybe so, or make a comment on see them working at a desk or so on a Rebel station, Rebel Fleet Star Cruiser, like the Phantom base. That was my impression of the episode. I really liked it. Some negatives though. I thought the Wolf's betrayal wasn't really focused much on. Again, he got too easily off on it, and but I did like that little back and forth with him and Callus. That was kind of funny. And we didn't really get much from Sabine or Zeb in this episode. They're pretty important characters, so to have them only say 1 or 2 lines, that doesn't really do justice to their characters. So, besides that, I really thought it was a great episode. Definitely the best so far this season. And I would probably give it, I'll say an 8.7 out of 10. And that's pretty good. Now, on to episode 3 of season 2. Always 2 there are. Which means the 2 new Inquisitors we are introduced to. The 5th brother, who we saw in the previous episode, and the 7th sister, who has a really awesome character this time, by the way. So in this episode, Sabine, Zeb, and Chopper are sent to a abandoned medical facility from the Clone Wars to retrieve some medical supplies that apparently they need, that are easy to find. And Ezra, he kind of tags along with them after Kanan and Rex fight Now, what I think is really interesting, and what we're going to see a lot more of from the season, is the contrast between Rex and Kanan, and which one is going to be more of the father figure to Ezra. And obviously, Rex has a lot of experience in war. He's seen the tragedies of war. He's more on teaching Ezra to be a great warrior, whereas Kanan wants to be a great Jedi. And as we see a preview of the next episode, Ezra doesn't even really want either. So anyway, back to the episode. Ezra kind of tags along to the mini to this to the even smaller group of the Ghost Crew to this abandoned base. Not where they encounter not one, but two Inquisitors, whose names weren't revealed in the episode, but we know them as the fifth brother and sixth sister. And the sixth sister was obviously the much more spotlighted character of the two. What was kind of weak is that we had a lot more character exposure and development for the seventh sister, but not much for the fifth brother. Of course, but I think he's gonna be playing more. I don't think I really hold him against them for that, because it looks like he's gonna be more of a, say, not so much background character, obviously, but not one who's gonna play such a big or direct role as the Grand Inquisitor did in season one, or Vader will in the series to continue, or Callus will. He's just some guy who's gonna be around there. He probably won't last this season. I think as the Grand Inquisitor can Kanan, I think this guy's gonna get hurt. He's gonna be gone. Maybe the hands of Kanan, maybe Rex, but probably Ahsoka, because we do know, we saw from that preview from in the trailer, New York Comic Con, that these two Inquisitors later are gonna square off against Ahsoka, and that is gonna be really awesome. We revealed that the Inquisitor from season one, the Pawn guy, who we just refer to as the Inquisitor, he really didn't get a name, but now we refer to him as the Grand Inquisitor. Dave Filoni said in Rebels Recon that he was, in fact, actually in the Clone Wars at some point, and he was pretty much the leader of this of the Inquisitorius, the Inquisitors. And now we see, and now the rest of the Inquisitors, how many there are, all of them, are all competing to be the leadership of the Inquisitors. And we saw that with these two ones, rather than having a familial relationship, they had more of a competitive one, more of a pure one. Obviously, they have respect for each other. And Seventh Sister doesn't have so much respect for the fifth brother. Obviously, he's kind of more the grunt of the two. He's obviously very powerful, but he's put in there to be more, just menacing and stand around. I wish they could have kind of elaborated a little bit more on the relationship between the Inquisitors, but not that important. They can do that when we see them in the next episode. This is just one episode, so I forget them for that. Also, the probe droids. The Seventh Sisters probe droids, those things were cool. Definitely very cool. You couldn't really see too much of them except for their red eyes, because the whole episode was pretty dark, except for a few sea scenes. And because of that, this episode really felt a lot. It had kind of a spooky feel. It had a Halloween feel. It felt like a Halloween special, because, well, it's the week of Halloween, and it really had this kind of ominous feel. Kind of sci-fi spookiness going on in the dark hallways, and the sort of ominous sounds that are even going on when the female Inquisitor is talking to Ezra. In the dark hallway scene in particular really maybe feel like we're in Aliens or so. Maybe remind me of Aliens or Dead Space. And after Ezra and Sabine are captured and kind of held hostage by the two Inquisitors, Zeb, he comes to the rescue. He could have left them and saved the skin. He's the last of his kind, but he goes back, and it kind of shows he is this noble character behind this kind of comedic escape for his brute strength, just knocking guys out. There's a genuine person there who's very loyal to his friends, and so he goes back for those kids. What I thought was kind of clever, as I missed this episode because it is kind of spooky, and if you're under 7, you might be scared by it. I don't know, but if you're above 8, you ain't gonna be scared by it. Because it is a show for kids, seeing that the comedic relief of the episode is definitely Zeb and Chopper's chemistry. Seeing that little transition there, that was funny and nice. And I like this episode put the spotlight on Zeb, even though it did so on the Inquisitors because we're introduced to them. But I thought it was definitely cool that we got like a Zeb, which haven't really gotten since last season. My really only main complaint about this episode was just it had a weak climax with the Inquisitors leading Ezra and Sabine out and on a single file ahead of them, and I think they got off. We just hyped these two Inquisitors up to be scary villains and formidable villains throughout the episode. It kind of made them show their incompetence, made them a little looking foolish. That they obviously it was pretty predictable. When Ezra and Sabine are racing toward, they're gonna escape, even though the hatch is closing in from the door to the bay. That our heroes are gonna escape. That's at the end of the episode. That's just gonna how it be. Obviously, had to do that, but they could have done it in a much more clever way. We have some great, intelligent people behind the story of this show. I feel like they could have done that in a more creative way, rather than them just kind of fooling the Inquisitors by some simple trick and flying out of there. And this episode does raise a lot of questions, like how many more of these Inquisitors are? These guys have numbers of names: 7th sister, 5th brother. Where does that say the positions in the guild? Is she the 7th one up, meaning the higher up, the numbers up you go, the more respect and more authority you have in your guild? Or is it vice versa? Seeing how these two characters were pretty formidable and intimidating. So I did like this episode. I'm just not I'm just not used to this sort of having a small group of our Ghost Crew go on some small little adventure where they encounter these two really intimidating villains, and they get back pretty much unharmed. I'm just not used to that, so maybe that's why I didn't like it as much as the episode 2. So what did you guys think? Did you like episode 3 and 2 of Star Wars Rebels? Let me know in the comment section down below. May the Force be with you, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Well, my face is a big letter T.
I can't see a thing in this helmet.
Everything's under control. Situation normal.
What happened?
Had a slight weapons malfunction, but everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
We're sending a squad up.
Negative. We have a reactor leak here now. Give us a few minutes to lock it down. Large leak, very dangerous.
Who is this? What's your operating number?
All troops will debark for ground assault. Prepare to target the main generator.
You weren't assigned this mission.
I assigned myself. I'd rather deal with the dangers out there than stay in the crossfire here.
Better dead here than dead in the core. Ye gods! What the Misa saying?
Chopper, where are you?
Chopper?
It's a trap!
Now there are two of them.
Always two there are. No more, no less.